So you have your dream job. You're doing the thing that you have poured years of your life into making possible, and that, initially you couldn't believe you could get paid to do. Only now that you've been in it for some time, it is starting to feel a little bit more like a job. I am a recovering overachiever, and this channel is dedicated to exploring the nature of ambition and what ambitious people are truly after. Because if your dream job cannot fulfill you long term, then what will? That is the subject of today's video, and we're going to be unpacking similar themes in future videos, so do subscribe and follow along. Now, if this video is for you, then you might not be calling yourself bored just yet, because unless you have some other different dream job in mind, then to acknowledge that the thing that was once your dream is no longer that exciting or fulfilling is a little bit of an inconvenient truth. And it makes sense because it isn't a dream anymore, it's reality. But I do think that there are some things about boredom in particular that make it a particularly sticky trap for ambitious people. So that's what we're going to cover today. But first, I'd like to give you a little bit of context, okay? Because I went through this myself very recently, and I'm self-employed. So I have created the dream job, and there has never been a point since I started this work where you could have asked me, hey, what would you do instead if you had to choose something different? And I would have had an answer for you. I don't. I love my work. It's just that I wasn't in love with my job anymore, if that makes sense. And I only realized it because for months people would ask me, how's work going? And I would say, it's going well. Okay, if I have nothing more interesting to say about my work than that, as a lifelong ambitious person, then that is a yellow flag. And it was going well. It was fine. It's just that it was starting to have a little bit of that treadmill feeling, where days were monotonous, and even the things that used to spark my joy and my creativity were really feeling like things that I had to do. And we can debate, maybe it's idealistic to want to do your work, but as an ambitious person, I do believe that there is a desire to desire your work. So fortunately, I didn't have to burn my business down to fall in love with it again. And as I went through that process of falling in love with it again, I uncovered a few things that are relevant for anyone ambitious. Number one is that the very hallmark of a good project, which is that it is successful enough to become stable, is anathema to the ambitious, because you aren't after the success. You're interested in the gap, not the gain. You're interested in what you don't have and not what you do have. And there's nothing wrong with that. That can be a beautiful quality, but it does mean that you need a space to lean into. It does mean that you need to be growing and evolving and feeling a healthy sense of challenge. And so the onus is kind of on you to invent that novelty and invent that challenge when you're in a stable environment. Which brings us to point number two. This can be tricky once you have some success, because that same desire for growth is going to square off with a desire to keep things stable and secure for the people around you, whether that's team or customers, a VA, whoever. Once you have success, there's other people involved or who will be impacted by your decisions. And one thing I notice about ambitious types and high achievers is that they tend to have a higher than average awareness for other people and their needs. For various reasons, I do think that there is a correlation between being a high achiever and having people pleaser tendencies, but that's for another video. All of this is to say that if you decide you need some more innovation time offline, or that you really want to sunset a certain product or aspect of your business, then that decision can be really sticky to make because of the impact that it's going to have on other people. The last thing that's dawned on me in this process about boredom in particular, whether at work or in general, is that boredom is not what you typically think. Because boredom is not the absence of feeling, it is actually the presence of agitation. So next time you're feeling bored, you might notice that it's not just that you're numb or nothing's happening. There's actually underneath a feeling of restlessness and even irritation. Pay attention to your body and your emotions, and you will notice that. And this is key because this can point to how the issue at work is not with what you're doing, but the way that you've been doing it, right? So for example, if you do have people-pleasing tendencies, then that may have gotten you so far, but that is also very draining and may have bred frustration and resentment. Altogether, if you're going to keep evolving and keep interested, then that might necessitate some identity level shifts. So for me personally, what this looked like was letting go of an old label and the positioning that I'd been using in my business to define myself for a long time. It just was no longer resonating with who I am today. It had worked a few years ago, it felt safe, it had felt comfortable, and now what I needed to do was update my brand, update my positioning, and tune back in with myself and what was currently exciting to me to figure out how I could integrate that into my business now. And this did take some sacrifice because I had to hit the pause button. I had to get myself some space so I could figure that out, which if you're a business owner, you know is a no, no pausing. But it was so worth it and things are feeling really good. So anyway, now I'd love to hear from you. I want to know if earning something has ever felt more exciting than actually having it. And also if you've ever hit a career milestone and then thought to yourself, what now? And if you have found a way to make it interesting again from there, then I would love to hear from you. So drop a comment below and I will see you in the next video.